When I saw the weather forecast for this week, I just knew I'd have to come out in the van for at least one night because we're set to have another lovely week. We've been quite lucky with our spring weather, our March weather here in the Highlands, and I am keen to make the most of it. We're just outside Grantown at the moment. If you can see that I'm kind of in an industrial state, it's because I am. Because bizarrely, there is a cafe here called KJ's Bakery. If you're ever in the area, highly, highly recommend. It used to be Mountain Cafe in Aviemore, but that shut down a few years ago now, and it was the most popular cafe in Aviemore, but I think through the pandemic they just unfortunately couldn't hold that premises because it was right in the middle of Aviemore, so I can imagine like the rent was quite high. So yeah, it's just like a little takeaway situation now. So I've got a coffee, got myself an oat milk latte, and I've already eaten just demolished it as soon as I brought it back to the van, an apple and cinnamon swirl thing, which was delicious. As well as my usual kind of showing you bits and pieces of van life, I wanted to chat about reading. I thought we could do a little bit of a reading / van vlog because I do love to read in the van. It's one of my favourite things to do, and we're still in like mid-March here, so the evenings are still quite dark. You know, it's pretty dark from like 6:30, so I do spend a lot of time in the evenings reading, but I also do it throughout the day, and I like to find really cute like reading spots and the various places I end up parking up in the van. So I thought that would be really fun. So I'll introduce you to the books I've got with me. I'm only planning to stay out up to 2 nights, and I have 3 books, which might seem obscene, but I do love to have options, and luckily I have great storage in my tiny camper, so I have options for lots of book storage, which was a condition when we converted this. Some of these are books I've started, some I haven't. So the first one is very apt, I feel. I got this in a charity shop a couple of months ago now, and it's called Adventures in Opting Out, and it's by Kate Flanders, who wrote, if you ever read her book The Year of Less, which was a year of having a shopping ban and like decluttering and embracing a minimalism, which I read years ago when I was getting into that kind of lifestyle. But this book is not the sequel, it's her second book, I believe, and it's talking about her experience in opting out. So by that she means choosing a different kind of life to what is traditional, and she uses the analogy of climbing a mountain through this, like the different stages of climbing a mountain, and kind of like links that to the different stages you go through if you are trying to like carve out this different kind of path. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm probably already halfway, or maybe even slightly over halfway at the moment. It's really quite interesting that she has structured it this way, in the way of like going out hiking, going up a mountain, and she's got some really good practical advice, but she also goes into the kind of emotional considerations of like, if you are wanting to like choose a different way of living, what that means for you, what that means with your relationships and things like that. So I thought this would be really good because I do like to also live quite differently. I am, you know, someone that works full-time as a creative. I live in a tiny home. I'm a minimalist, vegan, don't drink, not on social media, and I'm now embracing van life. So I can relate to this. So I'll give you more thoughts of these as throughout the vlog, but initial thoughts is I'm really enjoying it. And then my main fiction at the moment, I tend to always have non-fiction and fiction on the go. It's a list one here, Mad Honey, which I got in the library, and I included this as part of my spring reading list with my spring reset video. And I've started this, some 151 pages in. I think it's just over, it's about 420 pages long, and again I'm enjoying it. It is a mystery thriller, probably more on the thriller side of things. Essentially all the blurb tells you is that you find the body of this 18-year-old girl at the bottom of the stairs in a family home, and only 2 people know that happens. One is this girl that's died, and the second is your son. So that kind of gripped me because I thought that's quite a fun idea, fun blurb, and it's meant to be a bestseller, and I'm enjoying it so far. We're getting it from 2 people's point of view. We're getting it from the mother of the boy, he's 18, they're both 18 in this, the mother of him, and also the girl that ends up dead. So that's quite interesting, and yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how this is going to go because there's lots of different layers to it. It's definitely got more depth than maybe some of your traditional thrillers, so keen to see how this develops. And then I couldn't resist bringing this one along because I picked it up in the library on Monday, and it's the new Jacqueline Wilson, and look at this cover, honestly it just makes me so happy. What I want to know is, why aren't adult books like this? Like, why don't adult books, this is a middle grade book, if you didn't know, have pictures? Like, why don't they have pictures? I feel like that would just make our reading experience so much more fun. But I've been chatting a little bit about me trying to read a bit more widely generally, and also kind of falling in love with reading middle grade books. And it occurred to me that I used to love reading Jacqueline Wilson when I was that age, and she is still writing. She is a phenomenal writer and got a really long career now, and I thought I would read this one. I think this is her latest one. It was published 2024 last year, so I thought if I wanted a little bit of break, because this is quite heavy and I wanted something lighter, I've got this option as well. Now I'm sufficiently caffeinated. I've already taken Sky out on a little walk just locally at Anagak Woods, but we are going to be heading up northeast to the Moray coast. I've filmed some van life stuff up there last summer and September as well, I think, and I really love it up there, and I've been craving seeing the sea and spending a little bit of time on a beach on the coast with this lovely weather. So I'm going to drink up my coffee and then we're going to head up the road. Not a bad lunch spot. Just been enjoying a little bit of salad. We've walked for about an hour, maybe not quite actually, from Portessie, and we'll come to the next like fishing village that I've now forgotten the name of, so I'll maybe put it on the screen. Finn something, which is so pretty looking. I mean, the day is absolutely stunning. It's actually quite cold though. I forget that on the coast it's quite cold. So I've got like all my layers on, but it's, yeah, absolutely stunning. So I think we're going to carry on a little bit more and just see where the day takes me. But yeah, the Moray Coastal Trail, it really is something else. I mean, there's bits of it that are probably less interesting, but I definitely feel like I picked some of the best bits, because it just, every time it just doesn't disappoint, and it's just so lovely to be back near the sea. Wee peppermint tea break with my book. So we have come inland a little bit. It's getting a little bit chillier now, which is why I've got my hat on. We've come to Winding Woods car park, which is near Foggerbears, and it's a really lovely spot actually. We actually passed here en route to Portessie, and I came in and did a little spin round because I was thinking this might be somewhere we could stay overnight. I do love to stay in a forestry car park if I can. I just feel it's, I don't know, it's just like a nice place to spend overnight. It's easy for her, Sky, in the morning to get like a quick walk in and stuff first thing. So probably will stay here tonight unless anything drastic changes, but we thought we would do another like quick walk. There's quite a few different waymarked trails. I think this forest is particularly popular with mountain bikers. But I haven't seen any, but I suppose it is a random Wednesday in March, but we're just doing the sort of walking trails, and there's quite a few to choose from, which is nice. So we're going to do one of the shorter ones, I think. I don't like to push Sky too much now that she's getting a bit of an old lady, and then I can have a spot of dinner and no doubt do lots of reading this evening. Good morning, loves. Excuse the background noise. Hopefully you can hear the birds, but you probably also hear the road because this forest does back up onto quite a main road, which was actually fine last night. I could hear the traffic, but the van's insulated and I wear earplugs anyway, so it didn't really keep me awake. So yeah, I had a nice peaceful night here, and I thought I would make the most of having this oh, I'll just put my hand in. Oh, it's right. Let's just leave. I was like, what's that bird poo? Just leave. Make the most of this picnic table. I thought when I parked up last night, not only did I get a nice flat spot all to myself, I had this whole forest to myself, It also meant I could have my first cup of tea of the day out here on this picnic table, which is always glorious. And I started reading this last night because I'm in a weird, well, not weird, but I'm in a bit of my reading at the moment. He's kind of snuffling about. I'm wanting to be quite gentle with my reading. I'm struggling a little bit with the book Mad Honey. I think I'm struggling a little bit to get into it, in all honesty, but I'm also struggling a little bit with, obviously, like, someone's died and you're reading all this from the girl's perspective before she dies. Well, not all of it, but some of it, and that's quite sad. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm just maybe feeling a bit sensitive for that. Maybe something to do with my hormones at the moment, but I was like, also, I often think, like, reading kind of more scary, threatening books when you're out camping by yourself in a van is like a bit, is that sensible? So I thought I would get into my Jacqueline Wilson, and it does feel like coming home. Like, her writer's voice, I wondered if this would happen, is very familiar to me. I'm sure it's changed over time, but I mean, I cannot tell you how many Jacqueline Wilson books I read as a child. I had a whole trunk full of them. I think I read everything she published for years. So this has been absolutely lovely to get into, and it essentially follows this family that end up going to live in this, like, really rundown tower. So this dad buys this tower without asking or, like, consulting with his partner, which she's obviously a bit mad about, but he's meant to be quite an eccentric character, and he'd been going through, like, a hard time. Obviously we're hearing all this from the children's point of view, mostly Luna's point of view. Luna is 10, yeah, almost 11, and she's got a little sister, Aurora, who is 6. And she says how her dad was really sad because he ended up having to shut down what was a very successful restaurant during COVID. So this is, like, meant to be written, like, post-COVID, and he decides to just on a whim buy this tower and try and move his family in. So children are having to, like, adjust to that. You know, the youngest Aurora thinks it's a really great big adventure, but Luna is quite, like, careful and considerate and a warrior. So she's like, how's this going to work practically? You know, does this mean that mum's going to be mad at him? What about school and my friend? So all the sort of stuff you would naturally think about as a 10-year-old or as any person. Like, moving's hard. I moved a lot as a child and I always found it quite difficult. Although now, ironically, I absolutely love change. So you change as you grow up, don't you? But yeah, this has been a comforting read. I mean, obviously, like, I'm, like, invested because I'm like, oh God, are they going to be able to make this tower work? Oh, hang on, look. Oh, no, she's gone. She's like, Mum, you finished talking? So more croaky as well. You're, unsurprisingly, the first people I've spoken to today. But yeah, and I love all the illustrations. I can't remember, it's a different illustrator because I remember, I'm pretty sure it was this is illustrated by Rachel Dean. I think her older books, like in the noughties, whenever they were being published, like Tracy Beaker. Was it Nick someone? I feel like it was a man. And the illustrations look a bit different, but I mean, you know, that was like over a decade ago. More, 2 decades ago. I was reading these books. So, yeah. But I just thought I would get a few pages in. This is what I actually quite like to do, is become a little van routine. I'm trying to get some routines because I find that van life can be a bit chaotic. So if you have sort of grounding routines, it helps me feel a bit more, like, relaxed about it all. Because there is quite a lot to van life, particularly when you're doing it by yourself. And yeah, reading outside in the morning is an absolute joy. So I try and prioritise that where I can. Obviously some mornings are raining, so I just read with the doors open. But yeah, and I don't have firm plans today. I definitely want to go back to the coast and finish doing that section of the Moray Coastal Trail, which will mean I haven't done the whole trail. I just did the bits I was most interested in, to be honest, and I want to go back and do the section between Port Knocky and Cullen. I can't remember. You'll see later on. So I definitely want to do some of that because it's meant to be sunny again today. And then we'll just see where the day takes us. But yeah, a pretty nice way to start our day on the road. how is this actually my life? This is stunning. Like, I just have to pinch myself at moments like this, that I'm just sat here in the sun with this kind of view, with a book or a couple of books on a random Thursday afternoon. I'm just, yeah, immensely grateful for my life right now. And to be honest, if anything, like, it reinforces the messages in this, because although I suppose on YouTube you see a lot of like the highlights of my life, that took work. This took work to get here, but when you have moments like this, it is so incredibly worth it. I hope you can hear me. I don't know, my mic's on the thing, but you've obviously got the sea and the gulls and stuff behind me. But I'm near the Fiddle Rock car park, which you've already got some shots from. Stunning. Walking from there along the cliff up to Cullen. I didn't actually go onto the beach because I thought I might do that later today. It's pretty short, like it didn't take long, but it was just, the whole way was absolutely stunning. It all smelled of like salt and coconut from all the gorse. So the gorse at the moment is beautiful, like that buttery yellow flower. It's just always reminds me of the coast. So we did that, and then I thought I'd find somewhere to sit and admire the view, but I thought I would come like the other side of the car park. Obviously, like everybody, by everybody I mean 5 or 6 people, it's not that busy. Being a Thursday in March, I suppose. But I was like, I'd rather have, you know, a little bit of spot to myself, so I thought I would investigate a little bit away, and I found this kind of little area here, and it's just perfect. So me and Sky have had, well, she's had a snack, she's now stamping her feet at me because she's like, who are you talking to? I've had my lunch, and I think I'm going to read actually a little bit of this, because I am quite keen to like get going with it. I'm 150 pages in, so I am committed enough to finishing it, but I'm just like, I don't know, I just feel like I need to read a little bit more of it, and I'll probably just read a few pages of this and just stare at the view, because how could you not? So, sidebar, am I a cat person? I'm not convinced. It's very practical, I'll admit. My friend gave me this one because it's Gilmore Girls. She actually bought it for herself and decided she wasn't a cat person. I don't know if I am, but I love that it's Gilmore Girls themed and keeps the sun off my face, and I burn very quickly, so you know, it's practical. So you join me in a Tesco car park, because that is the glamour of van life. We're just in Forres now. I ended up driving west, yes, yesterday, and I just did some work in the van, so I wasn't doing very much, but I went off west to Hopeman, which is one of our favourite spots. That's where I spent a lot of time when I started doing like the Moray Coastal Trail. I spent like a couple of nights in that like general area, and I got some chips, which were very nice. I do like the chip shop in Hopeman, and then we ended up parking. I had a couple of like options around that area, but everyone I went to had a van, which was like, it's a bit annoying, but it was a lovely evening, so I kind of get it. So we ended up just at this small bit of woodland just outside of Kinloss, and it was fine. Like it was quite handy. I love to, if I can, like my preference is to park up in like a forest, because it means you've got a bit more shelter, you know, although it has actually not been that windy on this trip. It's obviously like more exposed on the coast, and I don't know if it's a bit more private, and also it means you usually have somewhere I can walk Sky straight away in the morning. So we just had a little wander around there, and then came to Forres, and I got myself a wee coffee. I didn't realise that the Tesco has an actual Costa coffee shop, so that was a bit of a luxury. Using an actual toilet, also a luxury, and I've just been working this morning, which is the reality. You know, I am blessed that I can do a lot of my work on the road, but if I do want to do van life more often, it does mean I often have to work when I'm away. But I actually really enjoy working in the van. I find it really peaceful and quite productive, because I just want to, you know, I want to go out and play. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to work for an hour and then I can go and play. So I've just been editing this vlog because I'm on a bit of a tight turnaround to get this out. So I did a little bit more reading of the Jacqueline Wilson books. I'm about halfway through that last night, which I'm still very much enjoying, and thought we could end off the vlog by going via Logisteding en route home, because it has a gorgeous bookshop, so very appropriate, and also a nice river walk, because Sky's not had really much of a walk today. It would be nice to make the most. The sun is still shining. I think the weather's to turn this weekend, so I thought I'd make the most of that. I can't remember if I mentioned it in this video, but I do full review videos for my Substack members of everything I'm reading. So if you want final thoughts and reviews of the books I featured in this vlog, then you can find that there. My Substack is always linked below, and there's also plenty of free content if you don't want to join my paid membership. I would love to see more of you guys over there. Put myself together and we're going to head to Logisteding.